Do you want us to mark who it is, or yeah, there's just us three. Oh, sorry, just for 3 now. Oh, sorry. I know it's not spelled right. It's all good. It's all good. Yeah, I just need to. Yes. Thank you.
Okay, hey everyone, welcome back. Concordia University Sports Space is where you are, and thank you for joining us for today's events, Going to Bat. Sadly, one of our almost second last events here at Fourth Space anyway, for the week-long conference, Hope and Agency in Uncertain Times. You'll need to know that we are streaming to YouTube live from Fourth Space, and we are also located in unceded Indigenous lands in Tiohtià:ke, Montreal. And if you've been listening along, you'll know that at Fourth Space, we work with our university community to help mobilize knowledge. And to do that, we create daily activities that examine research questions, projects, and things in development across the university. Those of you joining us by Zoom, you'll notice that we're running this as a live streamed Zoom meeting. And that means your comments and questions are super important via the chat. Those of you in the space, we'll get a microphone to you if you have comments or questions so that we can hear you. Now, very continuously happy to pass things over to the co-director of the Loyola Sustainability Research Center, Sarah Turner. Sarah.
Thank you, Doug, and welcome everybody to the second to last event for today in Fourth Space. But I'm happy to say that there is more going on in this conference, in the Hope and Agency in Uncertain Times conference. We're going to have a full day of events at Loyola campus on Friday, and it's going to be a party, and you should come out. It's going to be fun. So this conference is a sustainability across disciplines conference, which a version of it has been organized every year by the Loyola Sustainability Research Center and the Loyola College for Diversity and Sustainability. So I'd like to thank a few people who have made this conference possible and are continuing to make it possible. Primarily over there at the back, Rebecca Titler, thank you so much for all of your hard work and organization. Rebecca is the coordinator for the Loyola Sustainability Research Center and for the Loyola College for Diversity and Sustainability. And she's also a prof at Concordia and has done just a tremendous job of organizing and facilitating and planning this conference, which takes all told about a year to plan. So thank you so much for all of your hard work. And also thank you to everyone at Fourth Space, to Doug Moffat and the team at Fourth Space, to Bertie and Jax and everybody who's put in so much time and effort to make this conference possible for us and to do all of the logistics to mean that we have a really smooth running hybrid kind of conference where if you're joining us online, welcome, and we'll be able to involve you in the process as we go on in the workshop today. So without further ado, I'd like to turn it over to the Going to Bats team here at the table. We have Tristan, Yiram, and Ashley, and I will hand it over to you to introduce yourselves and tell us about your workshop and get going. Thanks.
Thank you so much.
Hello, everyone. Hello? Okay. I'm Yiram Yang. I'm a master's student and I study building engineering. And I'm very, very happy to have this chance to share about bats and share about Sustainable Ambassador. Tristan, do you want to?
Thank you for joining us. I'm just waiting for the slides to show up on the screen. And cool, not there yet. But yeah, we're part of the Sustainability Ambassadors team for this year. And we're with Office of Sustainability. And we're super grateful to be here. Let's see. Oh, yeah, and Ashley, yeah.
Hello, I am not part of the Sustainability Ambassador team. I was a Sustainability Ambassador last year, but I was part of the fun team last summer, and we were doing bat citizen science research and engagement activities. So this is why we were invited to help speak today.
Sorry, we're having technical difficulty, but thank you. We would also like to begin with a territorial acknowledgement. We would like to begin by acknowledging that Concordia University is located on unceded Indigenous lands. The Ganyan-Gahaga Nation is recognized as custodians of the lands and waters on which we gather today. Today, it is home to a diverse population of Indigenous and other peoples. We respect the continued connection with the past, present, and future in our ongoing relationships with Indigenous and other peoples within the Montreal community, and we're grateful and we owe everything to the Ganyan-Gahaga. So, yes, if you all probably fill out the survey before, but if you haven't, please feel free to scan it now. You could win a pass to the biodome. So, yes. Thank you. I'll go to the next slide. So yes, we've introduced our team a bit, but these are the 5 of us who have come together for this project. And we also have Ashley here with us, who's from FUN, which is it was a project where folks also toured around town to explore bats. And yes, and how did all this begin? So we're in no way bat experts. What do we know? Like, don't trust us, but do trust us maybe a little. And so some of us as sustainability ambassadors began volunteering with Nature Positive, which is a group on both campuses that works to promote and improve our biodiversity around Concordia. And so in previous sustainability projects, you might see stuff about bees or pollinators, and bats are pollinators, but or the way we plant things for biodiversity, but folks might not think about bats. And so we know from Jackie Martin at Nature Positive that there's 3 species of bats in Loyola. And so we wanted to talk today to develop some social capital for them and give you a bit of knowledge about them. So yes, and it is, and I don't know if you guys know what a keystone species are, but bats are keystone species, and they give us insight. They give us insight into how the health of an ecosystem. Our learning outcomes for the workshop today are these, and we could read them through, but we just want you to, again, sort of be cognizant of the bats and be able to maybe inform or have a conversation with your colleagues or folks around campus. I'll now pass to Yureen.
So we are gonna first go through some myths about bats, and I'll really appreciate you guys if you guys can answer to all the questions with yes and no very quickly. So the first question is, are bats blind? Okay, so the actual answer is no. Bats actually do have eyes, just they are not well developed and they're very small. But however, in tropical regions, bats do use their eyes to find fruits and flowers. But mostly bats use echolocation for hunting. Therefore, with the skills, they're actually able to pass through almost thin as hair. So if they get stuck in your head, there's no way that they will get stuck in your head. So this myth is also false, and that they're blind is also false. And the next question is, do all bats suck human blood? So actually, the answer is also no. There are some vampire bats in the world. They are mostly populated in Mexico and Central America. However, they feed on livestock. They do not bite human, so no worries. And the bats in Canada do not suck blood. Sorry. Right, that's correct. And those 3 species are in Mexico and Central America. So don't worry, unless you go there, you'll not get bites by the bats in Canada. No worries. And these mats is assumed to be because of their saliva. This saliva has been developed into a medication that helps prevent strokes in human, and it was named as Draculin, which we know as a Dracula. So probably the media impacted. We think that bats suck blood. Next question is, do bats bring bad lucks in your house? Okay, so answer is no again. In Western cultures, bats are considered as a bad luck, or they are considered as a bad creatures. However, in China, they are actually considered as a lucky symbols. In Chinese arts, they frequently depicted as carrying coins and money bags on their mouth or in the clog, like in the picture. They're actually holding a bag of money filled. So therefore, you can consider maybe that are bad symbol, but actually they can, in the other perspective, they can be a good symbol. So don't worry, they will not bring the bad luck. Next question is, do all bats have rabies? Correct. Not all bats have a rabies. Based on Canadian Food Inspection Agency, majority of the case with the rabies disease were found that with bats. However, this number is very small compared to the whole population of bats in Canada. Also, based on CLOG research articles, they found out that only 1 or 0% of the bats randomly collected silver-haired and the hoary bats were found to have rabies. However, bats do have a lot of virus, so please do not touch them with your bare hands. Either you may have to go to ER or you may have to call the healthcare services. Next, the last question is bat a wicked enemy? No, they're not. Actually, they're not a wicked enemy, so no worries. Bats are the best pest controller, pollinator, keystone species, seed dispersals. So in tropical regions, actually, bats disperse banana seeds, avocado seeds, more than 300 different type of species, plant species. And additionally, bats consume a lot of insects around us. Male bats usually consume 30 to 50% of their body weights of insect a night. And the pregnant female bats actually consume 100% of their body weights of insects per night. Therefore, having a healthy colony of bats can protect gardens and crops from damages and pests. So they are actually our friends. From this slides, I am going to give you, explain you just general information about bats in Canada and Quebec. So based on Canadian Wildlife Federations and Park Canada Agency, there are more than 1,400 bat species in the world. And out of that, 18 species were found in Canada and only 8 species are in Quebec. All Canadian bats are insectivores. They usually consume moths, mosquitoes, beetles, grasshoppers, all kind of insects around us. Also, they are active from spring to fall period, and they mostly hibernate during the winter, but some of them also migrate to the south. This slide shows the 8 bat species that can be found in the Quebec. And today we're gonna focus on silver hair bats, big brown bats, and hoary bats. The reason why we want to focus on 3 bats are because Concordia Nature Positive team conducted biodiversity audits in our campus, and they detected these 3 bats on our actual campuses. So firstly, I'll talk about the silver hair bats. Silver hair bats is one of the common species in North America. They're not that big, but they're actually super cute and have a dark brownish hair. And during their migration period, they mate from July to June, and then the female bats store it until the next spring, and then give a birth after that. And then they roosted at the tree cavities or burrows. They do move around during the maternity seasons. However, they hibernate most of the time in the forest area. And there are some of them who migrate south, but it's not too much. The second bat is the hoary bats. They are not that common. They're not commonly found in North America, but they do exist from North America to South America. And the reason is because they migrate from north to south during the cold period. They mate typically in the summertime. Oh, and another thing is they are the biggest bats that were found in Canada. They mate typically in the late summer to the early fall. and they fertilize the egg when ovulation take place in the spring, and they appear to give a birth around like May and July, and they roost in the trees, particularly like oak trees or maple trees. They go through migration from summer range to the North America to South America, coastal area, all general up to even like Brazil areas. However, because of this wide range of migration and habitats, horay bats make up the largest proportion of bat fatality from the wind farms in North America. The third bats is a big brown bats. It has a light color of fur, and they are considered as the second largest bats in Canada. They also delay their fertilization until the spring, and then they form maternity colonies near at the dark swamps or near the water, and also in the dead trees commonly. However, these days, increasingly they move into the urban areas, and they have a roosting area in a building or bridges or even in bed houses. However, they are actually considered as the most beneficial animal in North America because of their great contribution to pest control. They consume a lot of insects. Actually, another thing is they are not the endangered animal species currently, and the other two bats, horay and then the silver hair bats, they are considered as endangered. And then from this slide, I will move it to the Ashley.
Yeah, I can. Hello, thank you. So yeah, so you saw cute pictures and learned a little bit about them, but often a question is how in the world do we get information on them? And most often you are able to see them. They're mostly flying. They might look like little birds in the night sky, but they're quick and the chance of you seeing one up close is pretty small. So just a quick about finding urban nature or fun. So that is how I got involved here and last summer with bats. Finding urban nature was last year's summer project. We are hoping that it continues next summer as well. But we had three main goals. We were looking for a location and planning the initial stages of building a tiny forest in NDG. We were doing community outreach through a variety of forms. We were running nature-based learning programming for the NDG day camps. We were running activities with bats, which I'll get to in a second. And we were also developing a couple of citizen science projects. And most importantly, this one's long-winded. I'll do the quick version. We were focusing our research on informal green spaces, which aligned with another LSRC and LCDS research team, which if you'd like to hear more information about that, you could rewatch the recording of the panel that was on Tuesday night. And yeah, so one of the biggest hits that we had was our bat walks. We managed to do, I think, 7 bat walks with our crazy summer weather last year. Honestly, the best walks we had were right after it rained because you have an influx of bugs that are now alive in the sky, or active in the sky, I should say, and we had the most hits of bats on our walks. So how does it work? Well, because bats use echolocation, and now we have technology such as the Wildlife Acoustics Echometer, which is able to detect and record the sounds produced by bats. So echolocation is a high frequency or ultrasonic sound that is made, it's their vocalizations by contracting their larynx. And how, if you're not familiar, echo, meaning that the sound that's bounced back from these bats' calls, which is what allows them to navigate and hunt in the dark. And so normally human hearing only ranges between the frequencies of 120 and 210 hertz, whereas bats are ultrasonic. They have much higher frequency, which is 100,000 and 150,000 hertz. So normally you are not able to hear them. You might hear teeny tiny little squeaks, but it's pretty rare. And so Karen is not here, but this is a recording that she took. Karen was our supervisor this summer. She's a professor at both McGill and Concordia. Her background is in oceanography, which transitioned to land via sound acoustics. Oh, she's here. We'll have her just run up. Perfect timing. Okay.
Hi, everybody.
So I'll just let Karen introduce the video which she recorded and a little bit more of the details of how this program works.
Hi, everybody. So this is is this working? Yes. Okay. There. This program runs off of the iPad here. I don't know. Did you show it? Yeah. Okay. All right. So Wildlife Acoustics is a company that has been probably in the business of doing passive acoustic monitoring of different animal groups throughout the world for possibly the longest. They started building weatherproof recorders that you can set into the field and just listen. And it's used pretty widely by bioacousticians and ecosystem ecologists who use sound, sometimes called soundscape ecology. It's got kind of a variety of different names where you try to use the entire soundscape to listen to the interaction of different organisms that are there and quantify the biology that's there. You probably have talked about some of this already. Sorry. Specifically on bats, you're listening in a different part of the frequency spectrum above what we can normally hear. And so in this higher frequency spectrum, there's quite a lot of sound content. Our sounds would be located down here below 20 kilohertz, and the bats are all way higher than that. And the difficulty comes in making a sensor that can find these tiny, small wavelength sounds very high in frequency in the noise to begin with. And it's easy to block these sounds. So things like small leaves will form the equivalent of a wall for a lower frequency sound. So you have to have a direct line of sight to the bat. So they developed this sensor so that you can plug it into an iPad or an iPhone and walk around and listen to it. So we run bat walks where we let people listen for bats. Then what the sensor does is it takes the sound and it lowers it into our hearing range. So can you just keep playing it here? Because it's this, at this point, it's getting up, we're getting higher, and the bat is pretty much probably changing its behavior. So that's where the bat is initially sending out its search sequences, and then once it locks in on a target, it speeds up and localizes that prey, probably using a specific chirp to get the very best returns off of that prey. And there's a hearing da 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 gulp, and then it goes back to the sweeps again. Sweep, sweep, sweep. So you can actually hear some of the behavior in this as well.
So we have the iPad, the microphone, a little bat mascot, and a book if anybody's interested in checking it out after and reading a little bit more. But I also found this really neat sonogram of the 8 different Canadian bat species. This was from Batwatch, which is a citizen science project meant to help with bat conservation, especially in response to the white nose fungus, which has detrimented a lot of our bat populations across Canada. So what you were seeing from the video is how this system is able to identify the different bats it tries its best based off of the duration, the pattern, the range and frequencies to tell apart which bat you're hearing. We haven't done it yet from last year's data, but there is a second step. Once you have this, you run it through another program called Kaleidoscope to be able to hone in, yeah, make sure that what you're hearing is correct. Because again, we were doing it in urban settings and there's a lot of interference and background noise.
That recording, there's actually less than you might think because there's less interference in the ultrasound than there is for a lot of the, so there's less interference in the ultrasound than there is in a lot of the other frequencies that are being used by animals in many places. One of those places not being a place like Falaise Saint-Jacques that is right above the 20, where you get out in the parking lot there and it's just a wash all the way up through the ultrasonic. So there are locations that are much more impacted by ultrasonic noise in the city than the average, but in the average neighborhood, they're actually in pretty good shape.
So yeah, we had a lot of fun last summer and it was a great alternative to our daytime activities, where we were mostly working with kids or people in day camps, whereas at night we were able to get those who were working during the day out and exploring. And it was a really, even for myself, a new way to explore urban nature. I had never really thought about bats before. Thank you, Karen, for providing us with this activity. And I also just wanted to leave us, before I hand the note back off, with this quote from Peter Griffin, which came out in a very timely manner, which was his article, The Vanishing, My Search for a Beloved Animal After Millions of Them Die in the Narwhal, just a couple weeks ago. So I'll let you read it for a moment and then I'll go pass it.
Right. So this, thank you guys so much for that. Here you might recognize Loyola. And so we heard that cute those bat noises. And this is probably what you hear in the week, like, I need to catch the shuttle. Okay, so like that's like probably your locus of the campus. But what we hope today is that you know that around that time of night when the sun is setting, at least in the coming season, not the winter, we share that space. So it's not just your locus of running to the shuttle and stuff. We are part of an urban ecosystem and we are an urban ecosystem ourselves. So like, here's what you might typically see when you're, rushing to the shuttle. And if you just zoom in a little, like, you can see more about how much our campuses are alive. And it's an opportunity, there's a lot of opportunities for us to protect biodiversity. The photo all the way to the right is a flower bed from Nature Positive that is with indigenous flowers rather than just ornamental. And so if you check out like the iNaturalist as well for like Loyola campus, you'll see creatures like this. And here is a brown stink bug that's invasive and the big brown bat eats it. So that's great. Thank you, big brown bat. And here is the spotted cucumber beetle, and the big brown bat also eats it. And the spotted cucumber beetle is I don't like to characterize things as pests, but relative to the farmer, they are, it's a challenge. And so well, your value system could you might want to save bats to save bats, or protect them because their souls are part of our life, but there are agricultural benefits to them and they just love eating insects. They love it. So we as humans benefit from that, at least $3.7 billion a year, perhaps, the study says, but the study actually cites it could go up to, I think it was like $53 billion in terms of protecting against insecticide resistance, in terms of sort of like the continent, not just Montreal. And here are our own Loyola farmers who are on the scene, and that beetle, the brown bat is out there helping us attack that beetle. Here is just an example of a recent paper where like we see that bats like would help this apple orchard like reduce its damage crops by 50%, and connecting that to the insecticide resistance. Insecticide resistance is a growing issue. So bats, again, we should be saving bats maybe because we care and for the ecosystem, but it does improve our own yields perhaps and our own futures. Talking about this is important because, as Ashley had hinted about slightly, there is white nose syndrome that was first discovered in New York in 2006, I think, and it just traveled up the northeast coast right to us. So our bat populations are suffering. And if you ever,
let's say you have one in your attic and you want to remove it and you notice that there is a funky aspect of it, perhaps like this whiteness, you should, there's like removing it and there's also removing it where you're cautious to protect other communities because we could like tackle this wind turbines specifically for the hoary bat they're bad for the populations. So, and I think we bring this up just to create like a conversation and help you guys be multifaceted about things. Like it might be so quick to jump behind wind turbines and say, yes, it's saving the planet, but we should also consider like, if a lot of bat populations, we just should know, and then we don't know what the right answer is, but if you go forward and people are talking about wind turbines, you can say, what about bats, and other challenges that bats could face include, climate change, destruction of their food sources, bioaccumulation. So we talked about pesticides a bit, or insecticides. Bats, the pesticides can accumulate within them because they eat a lot of insects, and each insect has a bit of pesticide within them. Artificial light, sorry, and disruption of their hibernation from whatever activity. And so a lot of that stuff that we just listed, like climate change or like artificial light, like our street lamps, like you might feel powerless, but this is just a bouquet of stuff that we'll talk about that you can get involved with or be aware of in our community. And one of the first things you might want to ask yourself is, what is beauty? And so in this case, you see like a tree with a couple branches missing, and you might see uglier trees that are like just totally seemingly dead. But even dead trees can play a role in the bats and the way that they nest. And so like, when you can go to a bark and just sort of flick off that bark, there just might be a brown bat under there, like just, enjoying its life underneath. So here we just talk about, again, the different homes for bats. And there are things called bat houses, which are like artificial little homes for the bats. And if I understand correctly, like we still need to figure out like what is the best structure of a bat house in terms of insulation and how to protect them. But let's say you have a bat in your attic and you wish to get rid of it, maybe consider, putting a bat house on your property. Maybe we're students, so we don't all have attics yet, but if we adjust the way that we mow our lawns on Loyola, for example, we might have more biodiverse and available insect options for our bats to eat. And again, reducing our pesticide use or being aware of our pesticide use can help protect our bats. And planting indigenous flowers versus ornamental can help, again, bolster our insect populations to help nurture them. And so we really are all connected. Like, the wiser we mow our lawns, the more indigenous flowers, and auditing of our pesticides can help like with the fecundity or the the fecundity of bats through improving their food. And, if we advocate for that ugly tree that you don't like that's dead, as if there's no safety to the human, why not leave the sort of dead looking tree? And ultimately it does protect us. And we just need to sort of know to coexist. So maybe today walking in here, you didn't know that there were bats downtown and on Loyola, but hopefully you do. And you'll be able to talk about it, and there's all sorts of citizen science things out there. Here's just one example of one, like Bat Watch, where you can participate. Like if you go online and if you want to get involved with stuff like fun, you could do this. So I'll now pass it to Yureen. We'll just take a moment to pull up a quiz game,
So after this education session, we would like to play a quick game, and the winner of this game will receive a tickets to a biodome, and surprisingly, biodome has the bats. So I would like you guys to actually visit and see the bats in person, because I never seen a bat. So it'll be amazing opportunity for any of you guys to visit and see and actually understand that they're with us. Like the main thinking that I wanted to share with you guys today.
We might be good. Ooh, sorry.
Well, anyway,
Has everyone pulled up this thing? You can see it. Thank you. You can see the link, and I guess just go on and play for a second, I guess.
Okay. Is everyone able to sign in? We can wait a bit. There are 13 people, maybe even in the Zoom if you guys want to. Oh, 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 I'm sorry. Okay. You start. A second. Sorry. I'm so sorry.
I think it's at the top, 55043.
Yeah, please use that code
It's there.
550438. You just have to log the number in the quizzes website, then you'll be able to sign in. Yes. Great. Oh,
That could be a
Mark, wow, good job. 3 in a row. Wow, Emerson, yeah, that's amazing. 4 in a row. Wow, 5. That's amazing. Wow. Wow, a lot of people actually guess 7. I'm very impressed, guys. You guys are good students. I'm kidding. Oh, like I don't know if they're like how many species are there? You know, it's 15, 16, 17, 18. You have to guess one. I'm very impressed that 4 people guess all of them correct. We'll give a bit more since peoples are still solving. Okay, I think everyone is done. So congrats to Emerson. You're the first, even though the other 4 people made it all 7 question correct, but she completed the first. So we'll give her the gifts. Thank you. Thank you for participating.
We're just jumping back to our slides. Thank you. Or are we?
Our apologies. Okay.
How much experience do you all have with bats? Anybody have an experience to share with a bat? Speak in the mic.
Okay. Hello, I'm Meredith. I've been at Concordia for a while, and so I'm lucky in that twice while being here, I have had bats fly at me while inside a building because someone has like left a window with no screen open. So both the downtown campus, like in different buildings, in different years of my life, I've had to suddenly like duck because there's like a bat in like a very tiny hallway. But we were able to get both of them out and back to freedom. Yeah, downtown. I was in Graynons. Somebody had opened a window that didn't have a screen, and then I was in one of the annexes on Mackay, and someone had opened like a door to let cool air in, but that also meant a bat came in. But they were
Wow.
both the bats were fine. We got them out. But yeah, well, I'll just have to wander around and we'll find some.
And we have Dr. Noah Davide here, who you've done research with bats, yes? Or yeah.
Oh yeah, please share with us.
Yeah, I did my master's on bats. Actually, one of the papers you showed with Tom Kuntz and Gary McCracken. Gary McCracken was my supervisor. And I also have a paper in biological conservations about the impact on agricultural pests of bats. But in my first month of my master's, I went to my first bat meeting, which is a thing. That's the International Bat Meeting. And I had not yet gotten my rabies shots, which all people who work with bats get, but I hadn't yet because I wasn't doing field work. And at the conference, there happened to be somebody who brought a bunch of bats into their hotel room, and there was a giant fruit bat, and there were all sorts of insectivorous bats. And I, of course, was all excited and wanted to feed the insectivorous bat and got bit because I was not used to handling bats yet. And my options were either get the post-exposure vaccine series, which is like twice as many, or have the bat checked, which if anybody knows, getting the bat checked means killing it and checking its brain. I was like, no. I'll get the extra shots. So I got my extra shots and spent years after that happily handling bats, never to get bitten again. But yeah.
Thank you so much.
I have a back story too, and kind of it follows well from this
Please.
one. So I love all living things, teach biodiversity. I did have a colleague whose son was killed died of rabies after being bitten by a bat here in Quebec. Because a bat bites, it's very small. You have experience with bat bites. The bat was in the house and they didn't realize it. And they didn't realize until it was too late. I've been bitten by a dog and been treated for rabies. You've got something like 24 hours to get the shots after you've been bitten. So never sleep with the bat in the house and close the windows for the bat's sake, as well as your own. It's not their fault that they get rabies, obviously, but there is, if you work with bats, you have to be vaccinated for a reason. My office at Loyola, I love my office at Loyola. I have these great big windows I open, whenever I can, but there's a note on the door always that says, and it was there when I moved into the office, it says, close the windows, bats. So you don't need them in your space. They don't need to be, you don't need to be sharing space. They're happier outside and healthier.
Right.
And do be aware that rabies is a terrible way to die.
Thank you so much.
Okay, so this is just hearing those stories is gonna sound even more irresponsible than before. I went cave swimming in Vietnam and it was completely dark and all you could hear is, you could hear like the water lapping up against you, but you could hear and feel the wind rushing past you as bats were like swooping past your head as you were swimming. And it was just like, you couldn't see anything. So you just had to trust that they could see. what
Well,
you couldn't, and
they
they
will not suck in your
no,
hair.
exactly,
So no
exactly,
worry.
and they didn't, so I was safe. But yeah, maybe not
Well, but
getting in on their space.
And yeah, and if we could just like share the space too, like if I could just like that sound when you're running to the bus, just think there's also bats out there, and we just got to be safe. And also, yeah, sorry.
Yeah, go ahead, please.
Okay, I got married last year, and we got married in Rigaud, which is like in the area. It's like close to Ontario. I had never seen a bat in the wild until my wedding. While we were eating supper outside, a bat just flew out of nowhere and started circling over our heads for like a good minute and left. And I just saw that as like a blessing for a
That
good life.
is amazing. Wow.
Double blessing because it cleared all the insects as well.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Makes sense. There's two more people in the bag. Thank you so much, Dr. Karen.
And thank you for all these stories. And just the pathogenesis of rabies is crazy, you know, but our point today was to like share the space. So, you know, we hope not to be fear mongering, but yeah, like rabies is great. Like always get that shot as soon as you think you got bit or something. Yeah.
Thanks for this. I've been looking for like the bat community in Montreal for the past few years. So I'm glad to hear. Yeah, exactly. So thanks for that. That's really great work. So I have a bat story too, I guess. And it's not as menacing or as daring as this gentleman over here, or as scary as Rebecca's story. But I was walking up into the one night, walking across the cemetery in Mont-Royal. And I had a really nice time sitting on, like lying on the grass and looking up at a bat that was flying around the sky. And I was quite impressed. I don't know, I was quite awestruck by the behavior of the bat, because it was like flying around, doing like these dives and like doing like turns and like acrobatics in the sky, as it was obviously eating flies. So it was really kind of a cool behavior to watch, and I'd never seen that before. I don't know if you have it. It seemed quite really quite magical, and so I didn't realize that, because the only time I've ever seen a bat before, or even is either like in a cave in some other country, or you're hearing it like just swoop across from one tree to the next in a summer night in Quebec. But this, I was able to like watch it more consistently for like, I guess like a good 2 or 3 minutes as it was jumping up, but like flying around. So it was quite, I don't know what species it was. But I was curious about this idea of building a bat house. Is that something, do they actually like colonize those houses? And is that actually a useful thing to do? And then how do I maximize the chances that they're gonna then go in and start to occupy the house? Because I'd love to have bats living in my backyard. It'd be nice. Don't want to get bit by one, but
Somebody else has a better answer, but yes, they do.
My
work.
thing kind of also builds up.
Oh, sorry. Yeah, so they do work. There is a few considerations you have to take before you decide to install one, because there is upkeep. You have to be able to clean it safely. And a lot of it is, the point is monitoring it. So you should be willing to go out and not be afraid to get too close to it too. So there's a few considerations when putting it up, but yeah, they do exist. And Tristan included in the slides the Bat Watch program, which is a citizen science initiative. So you can sign up, they will send you a bat house to install and give you the proper instructions to do it. So I encourage you to check that out and also look into it completely before you decide to. But yeah.
Awesome. Hi. Well, like wonderful presentation. I feel like I learned so much about bats and they slay it. So you guys ate with that. But kind of building off of what was mentioned in terms of like beautification, which has always been really interesting to me, like in terms of the climate, not so much necessarily in relation to bats, not my expertise, but just in general, it's kind of like a subjugating mechanism of like the natural, and like it is a colonial creation. And then like also talking about like creating a space for bats, like a bat house, and like their presence in like Grey Nuns, which is a residential school. And like for me, I've always had like a big moral issue with the fact that like it's like not been like it like there's absolutely no respect like attributed to the fact that Grey Nuns like like is a residential school, and like it is a place that I think like I don't know if there has been a move to create like a bat house or even just like a sort of like protected space or like prescribed space such as that. And like I don't know, like I feel like with the bats are already there and like the people should already not be there. It kind of like it situates itself nicely. Like I don't know what you guys had to say to that, or like I don't know.
I think that that's what we're hoping today is to build. I used that earlier, like just social capital for all that. And it is true, like the history of the Grey Nuns, and there was recently work done in the link about it, and Autumn Dairy over there. We are just hoping to like be a part of that. In terms of the official space, like I know that I know that Dr. Titler, like there's a bat house somewhere in your office right now, and we don't know, I don't know if there's any plans yet of where to put it. And apart from the bat houses, like if there's a tree on Loyola that folks think is ugly, or and you're in a conversation now, or where they're like talking about that, or they want to replace indigenous flowers with ornamental flowers or for whatever, like hopefully today helps you be like, even though that tree is like ugly, which I don't think it would be ugly, but folks can think like we hope to be a part of that tool. But is there an official space for bats only yet? We hope that it already exists, and we're just trying to like come up with a symbiosis, but there is a bat house possibly in the works. They don't know. And yeah, Dr. Titler is like nodding. I don't know if that answered your question, but yeah.
Do you have questions?
But Dr. Titler, do you want to say about the bat house really quick?
Oh, I have a bat house, thanks to Ashley.
Yeah.
And we're gonna put it up somewhere. I also wanted to say, if you ever want to see bats in the city, it's super easy. Find a tennis court with lights on at night. They attract the bats because they attract the insects. I live near the Summerland tennis courts, always bats, easy to see, and you can hear them. It's very cool.
We have
When you heard, and this was in an alley behind school by NDG Park. So that bat was an urban bat in an alley behind the church. So you can, and we will have a bat walk on the Loyola campus, and we'll do another one at the hump bridge that leads to the Meadowbrook Golf Course, which isn't far from Loyola. Those will probably be our first two of the season, in fact. So keep your eyes out in June, early July, and we'll start in.
We have about 4 minutes left. We had one more question or comment, and then we'll, thank you.
Hi, I was wondering if you had any like, because I know you said there was like bat walks or like events to learn about bats, and I was wondering if there was like any of those events that are open that are not necessarily at Concordia, and if there's like ways for people outside of Concordia to participate or to start our own like initiatives. Like for example, I'm a Dawson student, and I've been wanting to like, install a bat house and explore like the bats that are on our campus. So I was just wondering if there was like resources or if there could be like a possible collaboration between our institutions.
Yes, that has been an idea between Dawson and Concordia. But the bat walks were open to everybody this summer. We were a public facing project, although we were funded by Concordia student. We also had McGill students, and we were working with a charity called Urban Nature Education, which is NDG based, but they work across the island. So it is open to everyone, and all are welcome to join us. You can follow the fun Instagram account, which I should have linked, but I did not. But it's Fun MTL 2023, and that is where we posted most of our announcements. Also, like through the Office of Sustainability, they help promote us a lot. And Dr. Titler has a newsletter, so hopefully we'll be able to get regular occurring announcements out for people to join. But even though Wildlife Acoustic monitor themselves, they are not that expensive if you wanted to buy your own, and it's Apple or Android devices now. I'm not sure exactly how much, but it's only a couple $100. Yeah. So there also are programs like Dawson, if Dawson wanted to, if you want to propose to Dawson, there are grants that help pay for it too, if you wanted to do a little bat club or something, that could be neat. But yeah, I believe we're running out of time.
We're running
so-
out of time. So yeah, I mean,
Thank you so much. So thank you so much for sharing all the amazing experiences and questions. We especially want to thanks to Jackie from Native Positive. She was the most enthusiastic person who supported us for the bats. And Ashley, thank you so much, Dr. Karen, as well. Thank you so much for coming here and sharing us more knowledge. Also, Dr. Rebecca, thank you so much for giving us this chance to share this information with everyone. We do have our some sponsor, the Biodome, and then our Office of Hospitality. He provide us the fair trade chocolates, and it's over at the bag. It's in a bowl. We got us fair traded chocolates, so please feel free to grab a bunch of them when you go out. And also thank you so much for Meredith
and thank you,
Christian.
Meredith. Yes.
Yes, so they are the Office of Sustainability. They are the one who lead our sustainable ambassador. In addition to that, we are having gathering for the sustainable ambassador for 2024 to 2025, and the deadline is March 31st. Please reach out to Meredith. Her email is in the bottom, so feel free. It's a 1-year program. It's so far I'm having the best time and learning about sustainable issues and having this opportunity to interact with people and actually feeling in the same circle and feeling positive that we can do it.
And thank you to
so much.
Christian, who's also on the sustainability ambassador
Right,
team
yes.
and does that help us with social media. And thank you to our participants. You know, Dr.
Yes.
Davide, you gave us a great story, and everyone in the back, thank you. And yeah, thanks so much, Dr. Titler.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you so much.
Great job. I love hearing about the bats. For any of you who want to apply to the ambassadors program, do keep in mind that you can earn 3 credits if you're an undergrad. Reach out. Meredith and Christian know all about this program, but it is part of our internship program at the college. So yeah, keep that in mind. Thank you all so much. I'm so sorry I'm split between the online and the in-person audience here. Thank you all for coming on Zoom. Thank you all for coming in person. Love this conversation. Thanks to our presenters. Today's workshop is part of an ongoing conference. We have one more event today, and then tomorrow evening, we don't have any daytime events tomorrow, but the Climate Emergency Committee is having their 5th anniversary party here downtown at the Figo Bar. So you're welcome to join there in person only. If you're on Zoom, you have to, come downtown. And then we have more conference events coming up on Friday, but maybe go back to the Wednesday schedule. So sorry. So Wednesday at 4 o'clock today, we have Dr. Mitchell McLarnon, who's a new faculty member here, a member of the Research Center and also in the Department of Education, who'll be giving a keynote address on urban gardening. And then on Friday, we will only be in person. Mitchell McLarnon's keynote address today is available on Zoom as well as in person. So if you're here in the space, there's a little bit of snacks left. If you're on Zoom, you can take a break and come back at 4. And then on Friday, we are only in person. So you have to come out to Loyola. The shuttle bus is free for all Concordia community members. And it's not that far if you haven't been to Loyola yet. It's worth the trip. The party's at Loyola, really. We will not be online on Friday, but we do have a series of fantastic presentations and panels going on Friday, including lunch. So do register so I know that you're coming. If you got here today, then you found the webpage and you know where to register. Do we have a comment question? Quick question?
Yeah, we'll figure it out. It's okay.
Okay. Sorry. So do come on Friday if you can in person. We'd love to see you. People are always telling me I've never been out to Loyola. It's really not that far. It's worth the trip, and this is a good excuse to come. Go down one more slide. So as I said, this event is part of a conference. We do hold a conference every year, hosted by the Loyola College for Diversity and Sustainability.
and the Loyola Sustainability Research Center. We are also here today and Monday and Tuesday. We're here in collaboration with the fantastic crew at Forest Space who provide us with this wonderful space, and most of all with their expertise, patience, understanding, and amazing professionalism. So thanks to Issa and Jax and Birdie and Doug for all of the fantastic support. I always wonder how we're going to do this on Friday without them. And then I remember we're not actually on Zoom, so it's easier. We're just in person. We're used to that. So we also have funding from the Office of Research under a program that funds sustainability research under the Sustainability Research Action Plan, part of which, one of the targets of which is to share research and sustainability. So that's what we do, and to share conversations across disciplines, which is what we're doing. We also have funding from some dedicated and valued partners here at the university, the School of Community and Public Affairs and First People Studies, as well as the Science College and the Departments of Biology, Geography, Planning and Environment, Communication Studies, and Political Science, who are consistent supporters of this conference. And we really appreciate the partnerships. So thank you all for coming. We hope you can stay. We hope you come back. And with that, we'll close it out.
Okay, thank you, everyone. Thank you, Rebecca, and everyone involved in the Hope and Agency in Uncertain Times Conference. As Rebecca mentioned, we have one more event here today starting at 4 o'clock. That's a keynote, so please join us for that. For everyone online and those of you here in the space, thank you for your questions and contributions. We're going to be closing up the live stream, but just a quick reminder that this conversation is already available on our YouTube channel if you'd like to revisit or share. Please join us again